Well, hello my little beauties, and welcome to this live tutorial with me, David Connolly, the web developer extraordinaire. Excuse my hand, I poured hot water over it the other day. Um, anyway, it's going to be a live tutorial, folks, and it's going to be on Trongate MX. I'm going to show you exactly what we will be building. So, yes, we are indeed live. Hello, hello. Nobody here? Nobody here. Anyway, we're going to be building something like this. I know it's not much to look at. We've all seen this type of thing before. But the idea, and I should make sure my extensions are not going to mess with me. Okay, so the idea is that we can create a new, say your T's, a new record like this. Now, by the way, let's have a validation error. Ah, okay. This is just me having a little giggle, of course. But the key thing is these validation errors down here, you see. Whoop. Let's pretend that that was completely intentional. Okay, so we've got nice validation errors down here. We can take this out. Of course we can. I was just playing around with it. But when it goes well, let's just do this. When it goes well, we're going to get a nice little animation. It closes and then it says new record added. And there is John Rambo down here. Also, we can hit the delete button here. Now, the funny thing is when you do that, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to see what's happening. So up the top, we've got this nice information showing us that such and such has been deleted from the database. And that's pretty much it. It's not going to win any design awards or anything like that, but as always, I'm just giving you little building blocks here. And this is actually something that I've been working on for the documentation here for Trongate MX. So I thought it would be useful to put this stuff together and give you this in one video that hopefully will be useful. All right, so that all being said, shall we dance? Shall we dance? Oh, yes, we shall. So I'm going to open up the Trongate desktop app. Now, by the way, this desktop app is going to be getting redesigned. So there's a chance that yours may not look like this in the future. Don't worry about it. The functionality is going to be pretty much the same. All I'm doing is creating a new app. I'll call it Demo. So I'm just going to quickly do this. I'm sure some of you may have done something like this before. And here we are. I'm viewing the new app. And by the way, I'm using XAMPP here. So I've got MySQL and Apache up and running. If your page looks different from this, don't worry. It's just a design. Pages, designs, templates, they change all the time. And it's nothing to worry about, okay? In fact, I might change this quite soon. So don't worry if your design is slightly different. I do hope that you are able to create an app though. So let me just open this one up in my text editor. Now, by the way, this is the one that I had just made. I made this last night and I may be referring to this, okay? But let's just open up the demo one. It should be in here somewhere. So it's in htdocs and I called the app Demo. All right, here we go. Okay, so that's the new app that was just created. You can see in here, we've got our config file. There's the base URL. And please do not give Trongate a star on GitHub. It would be terrible. Whatever you do, we cannot have that. Anyway, let's kick this one off by making up a module that we're going to call members. Okay, so in the modules folder, I'm just going to say members. I'm not going to bother with the code generator or anything today. I'll just leave this stuff and we'll do this manually, okay? So in the members module, there's going to be a folder called controllers. Let me make sure I'm on. Are we working? I think we are. All right. So we're going to have a controllers folder and we're also going to have a views folder. Oh, you miserable thing. See, live tutorial. All right. It's in the members module and it's called views. There we go. Okay, so inside the controllers folder, I'm going to have members.php. Okay, now by the way, I'm going to be going pretty fast here. It's mostly because it's sort of standard stuff, and please do remember that you can slow the video down if you want, but I'll try and get through the sort of basics quite quickly, okay? So I'll say class members extends Trongate, right? This is a typical PHP class opening here. And then I'll have an index method. Now, if I echo hello, and then I'm going to go to this demo website /members, you can see on the top left it says hello. So let's say data view file equals, and I'll just say members home or members index, whatever you want. I'll go with members index, right? And then I'm going to load up a template like so. Okay, so I'm saying this, load up template. The name of the template's public. We have a public template that comes with Trongate, and I'm passing in this data here. Now, let me go into this views directory, and I'm going to make a new file called membersindex.php. And I'll do a little, make this bigger. I'll do an H1, and I'll just say members. I'm going to save and refresh, and there we go. Okay, now there's a chance that your public template could look different from this. Don't worry if that's the case. I wonder if anyone's here. I'm all by myself, am I? Anyway, fair enough. I was going to say if you wanted me to make a custom template. Actually, do you know what? I'm feeling a bit crazy. Let's make our own template up. All right, so let's just say template custom. Now, there is no custom template, by the way. So if I hit refresh, we get an error. But look at how easy it is to make your own template. I'm going to go into this templates folder, controllers, and don't worry if your code is different here. The key thing is we're going to make a function. You can say public function if you want. I'm just doing it like this for speed. And it's going to be members. Now this is going to accept some data, and then we're going to say load, and we're, pardon me, members, it's not members, it's called custom. That's the name of our template. And we're going to load up custom, and we're going to pass in the data. So what we're doing here is we're making a new custom template. And of course, you can call it anything you want. You don't have to call it custom, okay? Now, in the views directory here, which is inside templates, I'm going to have a new file called custom.php. And if we save and refresh, you can see that it is loading this here, which we're going to turn into a template. Now, I'm using Emmet for speed here. It's a little plugin. So I'm going to say !tab. It gets me out of the starting blocks. And I've got a very basic HTML template. Now let me do just a few things to bring this to life. First of all, I'm going to add a base element here, and I'm going to echo the base URL inside this base element. Next, I'll go here, and I'm going to say link tab, and I'm going to add Trongate CSS onto this page. So it's CSS /Trongate.css. Then I'm going to add Trongate MX. So it's going to be script tab src equals js /Trongate -mx.js. And finally, before the closing body tag down here, I'll add one more little script thing, opening and closing tags, I suppose I should say. And I'm going to say src equals, and this will be js /app.js. All right, now let's just let's do something else. Let's have a div of container here. And then I'm going to echo template : display data like that. And that is going to display our view file content inside here. So let's save and refresh. There we go. Now, how about a little bit of style magic to bring this page to life? I'll do this just on the page, just for speed, okay? So I'll say style, and let's just say body. I'll go with background color, all the threes. So something like that. I'll say that the color is going to be no, I'm not. Forgive me. We'll keep it like that, but let's just say that H1 and paragraphs are going to have text align of center. Okay, that'll do for now. Now, of course, maybe it won't do for now because we have to do the container. So this is the container. There it is there. And for this, I'm just going to say background color is white. Minimum height 100 VH. All right, that's pretty cool, pretty cool. And again, it won't win any awards, but at least you now know how to create your own templates. Kind of cool, kind of cool. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to manually create a members database table. We'll just do this manually. So I'm going to go into this demo database. This was created automatically there by the desktop app. And I'm going to create a new table. This is, of course, phpMyAdmin. You can use whatever makes you feel good, though. It's going to have 4 columns. I'm going to create, and we'll have an ID, which is an integer. I'll tick auto increment. It's the primary key, of course. And then I'm going to say first underscore name, and I'll just say variable character. I'll just make them all 120 so that I don't have to think, okay? So we'll have first name, variable character 120, last name, variable character 120, and email address, variable character 120. Okay, so that's fine, and let's save. Perfect. We now have a members database table. All right. Now, let's manually add a few records. I'll just say insert, and let's just say John Smith, and I'll say John at whatever.com. I'm just going to copy this for speed. Okay, I have a little statement here, so let's do a couple more. I'll have Eric Clapton. That will be Eric at whatever. Now I'm just going to copy this and hit go. Perfect. And let's do another one, and let's have Roger. How about Roger Taylor? And that will be Roger at whatever.com. Okay, so I've just manually added a few records, and it's just so that we have something that's sort of meaningful that we can work with. Now, back over to our page here. We have a thing called members index. Let's have a quick look at this. Here it is here. And what we're going to do is let's have an element with an ID of, let me think here. Let's call it, all right, members container, there we go. So it's going to be an ID of members container. This is a live tutorial, you know. Okay, and I don't have any notes. So we'll call it members container. If we refresh, of course, nothing's going to happen. But the idea is that when this loads, it's going to fetch the members records and it's going to display them in here. Now, the way that we do that is we can say mx get equals, now I'm going to say members / fetch members like this. So this is going to invoke a get request. And I'm also going to say mx trigger equals load. And finally, I'll say mx target. Actually, I'm not going to say mx target because it's going to load the stuff and display it inside itself. Okay, so that's how this is going to work. Now let's make a little endpoint up here. It's going to be called fetch members. And I'm going to just say data rows is this model get. I'll order by ID from the members table. And then I'm just going to load up a view file. And we'll call this one members table. And then pass in the data. So back into the views folder, we're going to have members table.php. And for the purposes of speed, I'm just going to do a little echoing of the rows like this using this JSON thing. So if we save and refresh, you can see that immediately this is loading and displaying the members records. Now that doesn't look too good, so let's have a table. And again, I'm using Emmet for speed here. So something like this. Okay, this is just a little, oh, it's T head. That's what we do. Okay. So we're going to have a column called first name. This is just an HTML table. No big deal. So first name, last name, email address. And I know that I'm going fast and I do apologize. There is, unfortunately, quite a lot of stuff to cover here. But you can slow it down if you want. And again, don't be paranoid if you're struggling to keep up. It's absolutely fine. And to be entirely honest, this is me going as fast as I can. So we have our table, right? Now, where we've got the table body here, I'm just going to say for each rows as row, something like that. And then we'll close off the loop here. Okay, so I'm looping through the rows, and now inside each table cell, we'll bring this to life. So I'm going to echo row first name. This is how we do it. So row arrow sign first name. And by the way, if we save and refresh, looks pretty good. All right. And then we'll do the same for last name. And we'll do the same for email address. So let's just do this. Last name, row, email address. There's a deliberate mistake, by the way. I wonder if you know what it is. Let's also have a little button here before I show you the deliberate mistake. So the button is going to say delete. So save and refresh. There we go. Now, on to the deliberate mistake. When we're echoing information like this, there is a chance that somebody, let's say they sign up, they could do something problematic. For example, my own username is Davcon on the help bar. And not so long ago, somebody registered this. I think it was something like that. And it caused all sorts of problems. This interprets as a space. Is that what they did? I can't remember what they did. But in any event, when we are echoing stuff like this, that is potentially something that could contain dangerous information, use the out function, which comes with Trongate. So we're just going to say out first name, out last name, and out email address. I'll show you exactly what this does actually. Okay, so there's no change here, right? But let's imagine, let's take this away from the first name, right? So imagine somebody signs up for your discussion forum or whatever, And imagine that they say that my first name is John. Okay, well, that looks quite harmless. So these all say John. But imagine if they did this and added some JavaScript in. It's just one of the many potentially dangerous things that they could do. So they could inject JavaScript and who knows what they could do. All sorts of trouble. And wouldn't it be great if nothing happened? Let's have a look here. Well, my genius knows no limits. In any event, with the out function, do you see how all of that stuff is made safe? It's turned into HTML entities, right? I gave the example a minute ago of somebody who could say row, first name, and then do something like this. And as you can see, we can see the little trick that they're doing. If we did not have the out function, they could do that and cause, you think it's John, you see? And that is actually exactly what happened on the help bar a couple of years ago. It really caught me out. So this is why we use the out function. What a rubbish demo that was. But that's your tip of the day, okay? All right. Now, let me do a little bit of formatting on this and make it look decent. First thing I'll do is I'll align the button to the center. So in this TD, I'm going to say class is text center. On the button itself, I want it to have buttons by default are given this top margin, but we can get rid of it by saying class equals MT0. And you see how it gets rid of the annoying margin? You can also stack classes. So I can say class danger and save and refresh. You may have your button goes red at this point. If you do, that's fantastic. But if not, it's not a problem. Let's go into our custom template and we'll just define this danger element. So I'm going to say that it's a background color of something like CC1234. So save and refresh. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I'll say that the border is 1px CC1234 solid. Excellent. And now when we hover over it, so danger, hover, I'm away downstairs here. All right. So when we hover over it, we'll make it go a little bit brighter, maybe like EE, blah, 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 blah. So do you see how it's changing? And of course, we can do the same with the border. So border 1px. Solid. There you go. And if you want to be really smug, add in a transition. So transition 0.3s. That means 0.3 of a second. And now we've got a nice little smug and very graceful transition. Okay, kinda cool, kinda cool. You can also, by the way, add things like a class of SM. If you want to make the button smaller, see how it's made it a little bit smaller? It's up to you. The only limits are the limits of your imagination. Now, let's go a wee bit further. On the fetch members endpoint, let's use this sleep feature here to simulate a slow server. I'm going to say sleep 1 second. Now, if we save and refresh, do you see how it's empty and then it appears? See that? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a little loading indicator? Well, you can have anything you want in this life. So at the top here, let's just have a div with a class of spinner. Now, just by doing that, if we save and refresh, see how we've got a spinner? In fact, we can even say MT3, that means margin top, if you want, 3M. You don't need to do that, but it's there if you want it. Anyway, we can turn this spinner element into a loading indicator, and look how easy it is. All we do is we add on another class, and I'm stacking classes. That's one class, two class. Here's the third one, MX-indicator, MX-indicator. And when we do that and refresh, the spinner disappears, right? Fine. But what we're now going to do is head back to our members container here. And we're just going to add in an attribute that says MX trigger equals. Now, you can say something like spinner if you want. Save and refresh. Now, hold on. Spinner. It's a class. Oh, pardon me, not spinner. MX indicator is spinner. So look at the spinner. Boom. It's perfect. A fabulous loading indicator. That works. But sometimes I think it's good to give these things unique IDs. So I'm just going to say ID equals loading members, something like that. So that's a little bit more descriptive. And so for the MX indicator, we're going to do a little hash symbol, which means ID, loading members, save it, and just look at the fabulous indicator. Now, by the way, if we get rid of this sleep thing, PHP's so fast you can hardly even see it. But there you go. All right, now let's add our create button. So right at the top of the code here, I'm going to have a paragraph, and inside the paragraph there's going to be a button, and then we're just going to say create new, or let's just say create new record. So save and refresh, there it is, and we've got this create new record thing here. Now, the way that this works, and you can write this in ordinary HTML if you want, or you can use the Trongate helper functions. In any event, the idea is that just like this is referencing something, we're going to do the same type of thing here, except we're going to have it so that when we click on this, we'll have a modal record appearing, just like we see here. This type of thing here, okay? So that's what we're aiming for. So how do we do it? Well, first of all, let's go back to members, and we're going to create an endpoint here that contains the members form. So I'll say public function, I'll call it member form. You could call it modal content, anything you want. And I'm just going to say data, and it's going to be, actually for the moment it's going to be nothing at all. I'll just say this view member form. That'll be fine. Okay, so inside the views folder, it's member form. And let's just try a little H3, and I'll say ahoy, okay? So we now have this endpoint, which is at members/member. That's the wrong website. members/member form. And you can see that it says ahoy. All right. So let's just quickly turn this into a form. So I'll say create new record, and I'm going to go straight into building the actual form here. So I'll say form opening. Now normally we put an address here, but because we're using Trongate MX, I'll just do a little hash symbol, and I'm going to pass in some form attributes. Now, what on earth are the form attributes? Well, this is where we add in all of those MX attributes. So we can say form attributes. It's going to be an array of key value pairs. And of course, there's different ways of writing these arrays, so do whatever makes you feel good. And I'm just going to say MX. So the idea is this will have a form in a minute, and we're going to be posting. So MX post assigned to members, I'll say /submit. Okay. And then I'm going to say MX on success. So what does this mean? Well, when we submit a new record and everything goes well, I would like this table here to refresh. I think it'd be kind of cool. So this is inside the members container, and at the moment it only gets invoked when the page loads. But what we can say on our form is on success, and we pass in that ID of members container. So that means that the moment we create a new member, our fabulous members container is going to fetch the new members, and it's going to be a cool thing. Now, I do love an honest tutorial, and I don't want anyone to think I'm a genius. So let me show you where I'm getting this stuff from. In the documentation, which may look different when you watch this, we have a page that gives you a guide to all of the Trongate MX attributes. So if we look at MX on success, here it is here, and it explains it lets you update or reinitialize elements, okay? So there's all sorts of cool things. Another thing that we can do is MX close on error. Now keep in mind, MX close on success. So let's add that one. So we say MX close on success. Now what does this one do? We assign it to true, by the way. What does it do? Well, here's what it does. I've got a little example. If we add in the answer and submit, you see we've got a little animation and then it closes. Do you like the animation? Well, I certainly hope you do. Let's add in an animation. So to do an animation, and again, you don't have to be a genius, just look at the reference guide, it's all here, and you can see it's called MX Animate Success. Okay, so MX Animate Success is true. Okay, so let's visualize this. We click on the page, we're going to have a pop-up modal, we're going to have a form. When we submit the form, it's going to post the form. When everything goes well, it's going to update the members. It's then going to close the modal. It's going to give us a little animation. And, there's a whole bunch of other things. But let's do the form and not get carried away here. So we'll echo form close. And I'll echo form label first name. I'm going to echo form input first name. We'll keep it empty. And I'll add in a little placeholder. Yeah, actually, let me think here. I'll do it. I was going to do this syntax, which is valid. That's fine. But there is another type of syntax, which is we could say input attribute. And again, let's have an array here. And I'll just say placeholder is assigned to enter first name here. And then I'll just say, whoops, that's a comma. And here I'm going to say auto complete is assigned to off. I'll call this Actually, let's call it first name attribute, okay? So there we go, and we can pass in. It's really just an array of key value pairs. So if we go back here and click create new record, well, I was going a bit ahead of myself there. So how do we turn this into a modal? Well, we say MX get. So I'm going to get from members, it's the member form, right? Okay. And then I'm going to say MX build modal equals, and I'll just call it members form modal. This is just going to give us an ID. So if we now click here, there's our form appearing, and don't it make you feel good? By the way, do you remember when I added in this app.js down here? The reason why I did that is because it lets me press escape and the thing disappears. So app.js gives you all of these nice little things that let you do stuff like that, okay? All right, now let's do the other fields. So the next field is, of course, last name. Okay, and then let's finally have email address. So form label is email address, and that's going to be enter email address here. Now we're going to echo form email, and here, of course, that was a little typo. So we've got last name, and here is going to be email address. All right, and of course, man, I'm all over the place here. So this is email address attribute. This is last name attribute. All right, so we've got first name attribute, last name attribute, and email address attribute. Perfect. Now I'll just do a little echo of form submit. So a name of submit and a value of submit. And so now if we click, there's our form. Now on the example that I made last night, I had it so that the submit button was on the right hand side, and also had a close button here. There's not any there's not, I don't know what I was saying. There's not any rule about where buttons should go. Do what makes you feel good. But for anyone who is curious, here's how you do that. So I'm going to just echo, and I'll have a paragraph with a class of text right. Okay, and that's Trongate CSS gives us this. So if we now refresh this, I'm going to remove this sleep for the moment. Okay, so now you can see the button is aligned to the right hand side, okay? So we just say paragraph with a class of text, right? Now to do the close button, we're just going to echo form button, and I'll give it a name of close button, and the text is going to say close. Now if we save and refresh, there's our close button. Clicking on it does nothing. So to bring it to life, I'll just say close button attribute. It's an array. And let's have a class assigned to alt. So that's going to make, once we add it in, so close button attribute, and it's made the button go clear, which is kind of cool. In order to make it so that it actually works, we simply say on click is assigned to close modal. So now when we click, it closes. Of course, we've got escape as well. And of course, all of that is coming with this app.js thing. That's why we added this, okay? All right. Now, let's think about our endpoint here. This is the submit endpoint. We'll build a little endpoint at the moment to get us out the starting blocks. And I'm just going to echo, let's just echo all is well. We'll keep it really simple, right? So when we hit submit, do you see how we get an animation and the thing closed? Okay, there you go, and there you go. Now, why is that? Well, you'll remember that when we set up the form, we said post it to this endpoint, and on success, refresh the members container. You never quite got a chance to see that, but you'll see it in a minute. But we said close on success true, animate success true. Now, when we did our endpoint here, this is automatically dishing out an HTTP response code of 200. We can do that if we want, by the way, to really clarify the point. But this actually happens automatically. So when it queries the endpoint, it gets a 200 response and it says, aha, everything must be fine. And there you go, right? Now, that's all very well for the success stuff, but what about the validation errors? Well, for that, we're going to use Trongate's validation class. I'm going to just make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to say this, I'm loading up validation, set, rules. Now, we put in the name of the form field, so first underscore name. Then we put in a label, so first space name. And then you put in the rules, so something like required. Perhaps you could say min length 2. I'm using pipe symbols. Max length, whatever, 65, something like that, you know. Okay, so I'm saying that the first name is required, minimum length of 2, maximum length of 65. We can do the same with last name. I'll just copy and paste for speed. Whoop. Maybe make the last name 75 for no particular reason. And then, of course, email address. So this validation, set rules, email address, and then, of course, 2 words, email address. And that is going to be required and valid email. There you go. So that's our validation rules now set up. To run this, we're going to say result is this validation run, like that. So that's going to run all of these rules here. And this is going to return true or false. Now, if the result is true, then for the moment, let's just do a response code of 200 and we'll just say well done. And we'll do a little die statement just for the moment, right? So that means it's going to say well done and it's going to stop. But if things don't go well, we're going to echo validation errors. And then I'm going to pass in an HTTP response code that indicates, hey, there has been some validation errors. So for us, that will be 400, okay? All right, so there you go. There's our endpoint. Pretty easy. So now if we go back to our form here, and I'm going to press submit, not a whole lot of stuff is happening. So we have to prepare this form so that it's ready to display inline validation errors. And the way that we do this, it's so easy. We just add in a class of highlight errors. It's as simple as that. So save and refresh. We're going to click and look at the beautiful validation errors. So if I get one of the fields in, just look at that. Isn't that fantastic? And look at all of the stuff that you never had to do. Now, in my earlier example, I had it saying you suck. That was just me messing around, okay? The way that I did that, I'm not going to do it here, but I'll just show you the documentation. But the way that I did that is I used MX on error, handling request errors, and MX on error lets you specify an element. In fact, I'll just do it right now. Why not? So I'll just say MX on error is assigned to, and I'll have an ID of error message. So how does this one go? Well, let's go up here and we'll say error message. Do you know what? I'm not going to bother. I'll be here all day. Okay, call me lazy. But that was how I did it. Right. So let's just see where we are here. Okay, beautiful validation errors. And of course, if they get one of the fields right, everything is fine. So let me do a legitimate entry here. And we'll go like this and submit. There's our animation and it closes. That is beautiful. So all that remains then is to insert the data. So I'm just going to say data first name is post first name. Now you can write this, of course, lots of different ways. By the way, I'm going to add comma true. Adding comma true removes white space and it also normalizes spacing within the first name. I'll give you an example. And this is new. So let's imagine somebody joins the forum and their name is John Smith, right? You don't want somebody to sign up with this, okay? That would cause a problem, of course. So we can get rid of that by using trim. But you also don't want somebody to sign up and go like this with lots of internal spacing here. That could also cause a problem. So when you run true, what it does is it trims the white space, and to use a fancy word, it normalizes the spacing in the middle. Basically, it just makes sure that there's nothing dodgy that's going to get submitted, okay, as far as that stuff goes. All right, so first name, we're going to have last name, and then we're going to have email address. All right, that's all of our stuff. So now we're going to say this model, insert this data into the members table, and then we just say well done. Now, here we go. Create new member. We're going to have Luke Skywalker, look at whatever.com, submit, and just look at how the page updated immediately. Isn't it fantastic, Ola? Let's do another. Jimmy Hendricks. Let's leave out the email address. There's our validation error. And we can then just say Jimmy at whatever.com. And again, nice animation, table updates. It's fantastic, Ola. Now, something else I'll show you, which is just a quick tip. Do you see how these are saying autocomplete is off for each of these form fields? You can actually, and I'll take these out of these individual form fields, and you can set autocomplete on the opening form tag. So we can say autocomplete is assigned to off, and that means all of the form fields will not have autocomplete, as you can see. Just a little tip, you know. All right, so let's do these delete buttons here. And for this, well, there's a couple of ways of doing it. I think, right, we've got a couple of options. We can either have it posting to a URL, the URL then it deletes a row, or we could potentially use something like MX remove, which removes elements and then do a request after the element's removed. I think I'll do the first method because it's a little bit more orthodox. So what we're going to do, well, on our button here, we'll just say MX post is members, and I'll just say delete record, and I'm going to pass in the ID. Remember that these have all got IDs, right? So we're going to do a post request to this endpoint here, and then I'm going to say MX on success equals, and then it's going to be this members container. So this is going to get refreshed when we perform the delete, right? So of course, I do have to go into members. We'll quickly build our endpoint here. So it's delete record. Now I'm going to say update ID is segment 3. I want it to be an integer, so I'm passing in this int here, which set types the variable and makes it an integer. And I'm going to just say this model, and it's going to be delete, and I'm going to delete where we've got that update ID on the members table, and then I'll just do an HTTP response code. You don't, well, you could say record was successfully deleted. All right, there we go. So that's what happens when we delete a record. Now let's give it a try. So I'm going to click delete, and there you go. Oh, by the way, it has deleted the record, but we did not see our error message. So how do we deal with that? I hear you say. Well, we could have a div upstairs here, perhaps called information, something like that. And when we do one of these deletes here, we could say, now let me have a think here. Right, MX on success makes this refresh. I'm going to stack these so it's easy to read. All right, here we go. Yeah, so let's use MX target as information. So that means that the response is going to be appearing inside this information div here. Now, of course, we can open up our custom template if you want, and we can say that information gets a text align of center. Perhaps it gets maybe a little bit of padding, 1em, maybe even a color of green. Okay, and save that. So now when I click delete, I'm just going to have to do I think I have to do a hard reload, do I? No, I don't. I have to do a hash symbol. All right, here we go. So delete, record was successfully deleted. Now that's nice, but it would be better if it said Eric Clapton record was successfully deleted. So the way that we do that is we're going to just say record object is this model get where. Now we will use this update ID. So we're getting it from members. I'm going to say first name is record object loading up first name, or the last name. I'll explain that in a minute. Is record loading up last name, or let's just say okay. Now what that's doing is it's trying to get the first name, but if it cannot find the first name, let's say the update ID is invalid, then it's going to say that okay, the first name will be the, and the last name, it's going to try and get the last name, but if it cannot find it, it'll say record. So the idea here is that we're going to have a little message that says first name, a little space, last name, and then was successfully deleted from the database, something like that. So there's a little custom error message. So now, if I click delete, you'll see it says Eric Claptop was successfully deleted. And when I delete this last one, we get this. Now that looks a bit miserable, but no need to worry. All we have to do is go to this members table here, and right at the top, we're going to say if empty rows return. So we now get that. So let's try this, right? I'll say David Connolly, and it's always about me, you know. And there it is added. Doesn't it make you feel good? Let's do another. Joe blogs. And just look at that. In fact, I'm going to cheat because I had made a little function. I'll leave a link to this in the description actually, because it's a handy thing, and it's going to just randomly add records, you know. So I will leave a link to this in the description. It's just a little PHP function that I made. And all it means is that if I go to members / add members rather, there you go. And it's just going to add a bunch of member records. So check it out. If you look closely, look at these messages. See, was successfully deleted. Look how fast it is. Just look at that. It's absolutely fantasticola. All right. And I think we'll leave it at that. I've just realized as I'm finishing up that when I create a new record, that may stay here. Okay. Yeah, of course it will. So what do we do there? Well, let's have a think about this. Here's our member form. And you can see that we're doing a whole bunch of on success and close and blah, 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 blah. All we have to do is say MX target is, and it's that information thing. And then we go to the submit endpoint here. And then we can just say something like new record added. Okay, so I'm going to delete, and then we'll make a new record. And you can see that it now says new record added. Okay, so that's going to do us for this one. I hope you got something from this. Thank you very much indeed. And I'm going to get out of here if that's okay with you folks. Pleasure and a privilege. And I'll see you soon. We have a few friends passed by. It's ahoy to Iron Man. How you doing, Iron Man? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. It's an ahoy to Certi, friendly Certi. He's a good soul, and it's very nice to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. It did have validation. In fact, I'm going to be launching the documentation tonight, and that's the great Apophis, who has contributed hugely to the framework. I was up all night last night working on this, and this is going up today. This is going up today. I've still got a couple of wee touches to do, but yes, it's going to have validation. No problem. It's all going up. I might even do a shorter tutorial, actually. What I'm going to do, Apophis, this is a long waffling tutorial. So I'm going to do a shorter one where it's just 1 minute and showing you the key parts, but it's all here and it's going up. Don't you worry about it. Now it is indeed ahoy to the great Iron Man, ahoy to Certi. Gert is here, long time no see. The great Stefan Hummel, pillar of the community, and the highly intelligent Dom Sinclair, who I owe an apology to, and I truly, truly apologize. I was working so. Let me give you a preview of my life. Is this going to work? I did 18 hours work yesterday, and it's been ridiculous. And I've just been on another planet. I mean, you know, uh, and what happened yesterday is the great and highly intelligent Dom Sinclair sent me a message, and it was about that long, and it was, could you check out the thing, and so on. And I looked and I thought, that's awesome. And I thought, right, I want to give this my time. And I thought, what I'll do is I'll have a look at the thing in about 15 minutes. And I was like, that's really cool. And like an idiot, I failed to respond. And quite frankly, I forgot. That's not an excuse, it's just an explanation. So I do apologize for that, Dom. And believe me, I know that the stuff that you're building is fantastic. And I really, really want to shine a light on all of that stuff. Here's a little preview of my life. Hi, how you doing? Very good. I apologize for being late, but I'm on my way. All right. Take it. All right. Thank you very much. Take it easy. Take it easy. Okay, bye. I got a bit nervous there. Anyway, that's my life. Just apologizing for being late and missing stuff and everything. It happens with everybody. It's not you, it's me, and I apologize. Um, so Dom, I'm going to be launching this tonight. I'm going out for some lunch, but then I'm coming back. I'm going to be here all day and all night, and I'll be here tomorrow as well. I'm sure we'll have a chance to have a Skype call, and what you're doing is fantastic. Be in no doubt, my friend. Be in no doubt. We really appreciate you. So, have I got everyone? I hope I haven't met. Jonas Hansen is here. Ahoy to you, my friend. Welcome. Welcome. Um, Apophis, I'm willing to do a little offer. You said you found it to be tricky. I think it is a bit tricky. It's tricky for me as well. But I think that it will get easier. And think about how long this would take to build all of this stuff if we did not have. I mean, how long would all of this take if we did not have these incredible tools at our disposal? Um, I will be glad to meet you on Skype if you want, Apophis, and I'll be glad to give you a little one-on-one training or whatever in exchange, because nothing is free. In exchange for maybe you could do a tutorial or something like that yourself. The best way of learning is to do tutorials. It really helps. It helps me. In fact, a lot of the things I'm showing you here have just been built, and doing these little tutorials is my own way of saying, right, there's how we do it. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Keep an eye on the Trongate channel, because I'm doing tutorials there that are a lot shorter. I did one earlier on a few days ago. We do have a Trongate channel, and if anybody wants to contribute to that, you're welcome. It's not my channel, it's our channel, right? Anyway, that's all I got for you. I will be back later on, hopefully. I always have to say hopefully, you never know in this life. But stay cool, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Let me get the angle right there. All right. Cheerio.